who co-teach fourth grade together in the West Hempstead School District. Erin and Stacey, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And please let me know when you're ready to advance to your next slide as you share your experiences.
Yes. All right. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. So I'll start for our first slide. I'm the E&L teacher, and we teach fourth grade together. Stacey's the gen ed teacher, and we have I have about 6 E&L students in her class. So I wanted to start with the positive, what went well. The positive was Stacey and I happened to speak often on the phone. So we're very close and we plan very well together, whether it's last minute or for hours. So we didn't have that issue going into it, which was nice. A few days before quarantine, we kind of heard rumors of maybe having to quarantine. So we started to just show some kids additional things on Google Classroom, where to find things, where to find classwork. We had been using it all year, but not in this capacity. So we kind of snuck in a couple of lessons the week before.
So yeah, we tried to do a little damage control right before
we
went into quarantine.
Show them a couple extra new things. Again, we didn't know when we might be going home. We didn't know what we could take home. There was one student who told us she didn't have a computer right away. So I actually made some copies of some things to prepare as if I was going to get her ready for the NICER slat. So that obviously went out the window, but I wanted to have some pen and paper things just in case she didn't have a computer.
And I just want to mention, I did see Erin tweeting about dropping off packets, books, materials. I saw Stacey on Erin's lawn dropping off books to bring to students. So thank you for that.
Yeah, so you'll see that. We tried to do as much as we could. Okay, you can go to the next slide. This is a little bit of our beginning struggles. So this is just kind of an example of some of the things that we posted, what some of our assignments might look like. What we did learn when we first started, I think everyone felt we had to post more initially. I think everybody had that feeling, like make sure you have enough for them. And then it wasn't long after we realized we needed to stop that and really scale it down and break it down for them. So Stacey and I talked a lot about that. And we had a lot of issues with passwords and logging on.
Yeah, a ton.
Stacey would post it 17 times and they still would say, I can't find it, it's not working. And that's very time consuming for all the teachers because then you're responding, it's taking up your whole day, whether by phone or by computer. So that's a struggle. And I hate to say it, sometimes it's still a struggle, right, Stacey?
It's still an ongoing struggle that we're having every day with people just not reading directions, or my password's not working. So we're constantly back and forth on the phone or on email trying to get the kids connected. Some of our students just got computers within the week, so we're just starting them. They're a couple weeks behind everybody else, so it's taking a little while.
And Stacey uses the Remind app, and she handles most of that, which is nice because it will translate if it needs to. So she's very good about telling them what's coming, what to expect, what they need to do. So in some instances that helps, but it also can be overwhelming for Stacey, I think, from my perspective, because it can be bombarding. Stacey, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I'm getting messages around the 24 hours a day, all through the, this isn't working. So I had to individually message people, or I've had one-on-ones with a few students to try to work them through the problems, which seem to have helped the best.
Yeah, more of the one-on-one small group seems to help, I think, overall. just setting it up sometimes can be difficult. Many of my E&L students in her class, we had a lot of trouble getting in touch with them. And so we ended up getting them Chromebooks, but it didn't happen until about 2 weeks ago. So it was 2 weeks ago and then a week ago. And then when they got the Chromebooks, we discovered that what they thought was Wi-Fi is actually probably LTE or internet access on their phone. We had an instance where we got them free Wi-Fi and they went to have it installed by Verizon, and the landlord kicked them out and said no. So, you know, when you run into that, it breaks your heart because you went through all this effort and the kids get so excited and now we're down to nothing. So we do have some kids with Chromebooks. They've had them for a few weeks. We have at least 2 that are actually finally doing some work and really excited about it. So that really is awesome. Stacey and I get very excited to see one.
Right. We have a few students that we had to give, the principal had dropped off some backpacks for them because it was either too difficult for them to log in or the parents were having trouble. So it was just easier to give them some work. So I think there's about 2 or 3 students right now that are not online with us.
Yeah, and so what I do is I gave out my cell phone just for my 4th graders. I have 6th graders too, but I only have about 13 4th graders. So I'm comfortable with that because it wasn't a lot. And I asked them to take a picture of their writing or themselves reading or doing math and send a picture to me. And then I create a little work done at home folder, and I'll upload the picture. That way, you know, we have proof that they did it. And some is hard to read, and it's hard to give feedback, but I just kind of say, keep up the good work. Can't wait to hear more about what you're reading or writing. So
yeah, I mean, we just get so excited if they're actually, the kids get so excited if they're actually producing something. So we try to make a really big deal about it.
Yep. I know you had mentioned earlier that making an assignment, one thing that we quickly realized is when we create assignments, if we create assignment for them, there's a drop down. We create a blank document with name, date, the title of the document, and even an outline of expectations of what we want them to do. And there's a drop down when you upload it of make a copy for each student. And when we started doing that, we had more success.
Right.
Them turning in things that were not blank. So if you haven't done that, we suggest it.
Yeah, we were getting a lot of blank papers coming back, and the students weren't understanding. They were, stating that they were doing all the work, but it was coming back to us blank. So we really, Erin was great about walking them through that.
We did screencastifies. I created visuals of step 1, step 2, and it didn't work. So we said, well, let's make a copy for each student. Kind of automatic. It just sits there waiting for them to touch it. So as soon as they open it, they kind of just figured that out for the most part. And then we host a lot of live sessions every day at 12 o'clock. Yep. And I do my best to jump onto hers. I mostly am on Stacey's. I'm able to jump on, and the kids absolutely love it. And Stacey has pulled out her old school whiteboard, and I'm her director. We're all a little higher, a little lower.
Right.
You can see in the picture the whiteboard on the right side, doing some improper fractions, clarifying, and really explaining some of the work. We had students who were very confused. And what's cool is that then we've had students now say, can I stay on with you? Mm-hmm. So then we can just work with one-on-one.
Right.
So I don't teach math, but now I teach math. So
she does. She's good at it. But the students, sometimes like yesterday we were on for about 45 minutes, and then I stayed after with 2 of them, and the 2 of them actually were working together, and I was just there facilitating. So it was actually pretty cool. It was almost like I was doing a small group in the classroom, that the students were doing it together, and I just, guided them through, which is so cool, I think, to do virtually.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. So
I think so many of the students are just really missing that together time too, and that sense of community. So that's great that you're able to provide that. as a whole group, and then again as those smaller groups. That's great.
Yeah, and the best way to really assess their learning is to have them teach someone else. So
Right.
we get to see that without having to actually do a test of any kind. So you can go to the next slide. So we have some tech stuff that's worked. Just from a personal standpoint, I started calling students early on, and I had a conversation with a sixth grader, and just randomly I said, so, do you have a computer at home? And the answer was no. And then I said, all right, so you have some books maybe that you can read? And her answer was no. And I was not expecting that. That I should have expected it, but I didn't. So I clarified that she literally had no books at home. So I reached out to my fourth grade team. You can see them on the right. There's a couple of them in our little fourth grade planning team. And as I started calling the rest of my students, one of my first questions was, do you have any new books that you could read? I didn't word it as, do you have books at home?
Right.
I didn't want them to feel that way. I just said, do you have any new books that you will be reading that you're interested in, that you could write about or read about or tell us about, knowing they did not have technology. So these are students who didn't have technology. And now I found out they had no books. So my children, I had them read our books because why not clean out every closet we can in quarantine? And I ended up finding a ton of books. I have a fourth grader and an eighth grader. I had like 3 bins of books that we could donate. So I asked my fourth grade teachers and some middle school teachers. And Stacey was the first one at my door with a box of books from her house. And we started collecting, and my family and I just put them in bins, and you could see the picture of the dog, 2 dogs. We piled them up. I put their names on them, and I sorted them, and I decided I know what they like. I happen to be able to get some Spanish books because they're mostly Spanish speaking. My husband sells books, so we went to his storage unit and rated it. And I have students who are newcomers who can't really read in English. So I got a bunch of everything. We delivered it to them, and they were so happy. So that was probably the best thing we've done so far. And now I know at least they're reading. And when I talk to them, I could say, what have you read? Because I know they have those books.
Right.
So I had a lot of help from my fourth grade team and my middle school teachers. And we gave it to 13 different students in 12 different houses, dropped them off, and they all got it. It was great. And then we started adding some more technology.
Right. We started using the past, I guess, 2 weeks. I started using Screencastify. Like yesterday, I set up a social studies lesson, and I just needed to give them a little background. So I read aloud what I had typed for them and put a map up and explained to them. So basically, it was kind of like I was, teaching a lesson in the classroom. And it's taken me a couple weeks to get there, but now I think I'm finally more comfortable with doing that. I mean, I was a little tentative at first to use Screencastify and to use, the Flipgrid shorts. And now as I'm doing them more, I'm getting a lot more comfortable with it. And it seems to be working. I mean, I'm getting a great response from the students. And I had a few parents message me that they're appreciating, all the work that we are doing, because now their children are really understanding more of what we're teaching instead of just putting up a slide and having them kind of teach themselves.
Yeah, the Screencastify has been great to help clarify things. And we love Flipgrid. We've always loved Flipgrid, but that's been a lifesaver because I want my kids to read, write, speak, listen every day. So I always include something speaking, and Stacey and I just kind of connect it to whatever we're doing, or even something fun or something for the community. And they really enjoyed participating in that.
Yeah.
Bunsy is another one that we like, and they're familiar with it. So their struggle was connecting the link for Bunsy. It is a little tricky. So I did a Screencastify, and I'm getting my Bunsies in now. So that was necessary. It's not as user-friendly as I'd like. I wish you could just click a button and share it to Google Classroom, but you do have to copy the link. So Stacey and I kind of figured out I needed to create something. So I did, and we're getting them in.
Yeah, the kids are doing pretty well with it, and they're I'm getting feedback that they're loving it.
Yeah.
They're really enjoying learning. So
And it's a great way to assess their learning. So we ask for certain things, 4 slides, one slide must have this, one slide must have that, and we will send it back and say, you're missing X, Y, or Z. Please, resubmit it. And, we don't always get it back, but we can ask.
right.
I'm just checking in on the time, and I want to make sure that we have a chance for everyone to speak. So I know you have one more slide, and I want to also leave time in case anyone has particular questions for you. So is it okay if we advance to your next slide now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you.
This is some of our Bunsey, our Flipgrid Fever, spine poetry that we've done. Those are our kids on my beach. Stacey came down to my beach. I gave her the key, and her kids ran around, and really just a message to, the fact that we're friends and that we support each other and our families and keep each other sane. So I think that's one of
That's
the most important things, because we laugh every day. And
You have to.
That's important.
and I think that's big for distance learning, teaching, online, whatever you want to call it. So that's why we did that. And we're doing a Padlet. Stacey's done Padlet, but we really are enjoying some Padlet stuff too. So
great, thank you
that's
so
it.
much, Erin and Stacey. And I love to leave it on that point, on that you guys are friends, and that helps you co-plan together. I think that's so important to develop that type of relationship. So I just wanted to see, I don't see any current questions, but is there anyone that has a question for Erin or Stacey at this time? I'm also going to put up their email address here. So if
Thanks.
something, that you want to reach out to them, I'm sure they would be happy to answer any questions or share any of their current practices with you. You just thank you in the chat.